Hey everyone, GGN here. It's Friday, November 8th, 2013. I'm going to cover the economy in this video. $29 trillion, and also some surveillance news. $29 trillion have been given to the banks since 2008. That's the true total of the Federal Reserve emergency lending. I'm sure that's not the real true number. There could be more or whatever. Lending to Wall Street is not 1.2 trillion as the Fed chairman Ben Bernanke contends, nor is the 7.7 trillion figure reported by Bloomberg, in which Bernanke publicly contests. The real number, argues economist Randall Wray, is a staggering $29 trillion. He writes that Bernanke's recent defense of the lower figure is misleading, and that the chairman's claim that Fed bailouts do not constitute a form of spending is plain wrong. If he really believes that, then he apparently does not understand the true risks to which he's exposed to as the Treasury, as the Fed made the commitments. So he's a really good liar. I mean, if you really understand, it seems like an intelligent dude. Oh yeah, and he's frugal too, and he cares about budgets. He holds himself to a budget. He drives a Ford Focus and has a 30-year mortgage. So Goldman Sachs appoints Zoellick, I think Robert Zoellick, chairman of the International Advisors. He's a former, World Bank? Yeah, Goldman Sachs has announced that Robert Zoellick, the former president of the World Bank, will serve as chairman of Goldman Sachs International Advisors. Advise a firm on global strategic issues. Who are you going to exploit next, right? So that's what it's all about. They don't actually have an article in this, but I think you'll get the gist. India accuses Goldman Sachs of political interference, so that's what you can do. All right, employers are adding a robust 204,000 jobs in October, says McClatchy. So everything's getting better, right? Added a much better expected 204,000 jobs in October. Of course, those are, I'm going to tell you, it's, or maybe they will, but it's mostly low-wage, part-time jobs where basically it's not enough to get by, and you'll have to have two jobs then. But there's just imagine the amount of people that have been out of work for like a year or 2 years or however long since 2008, and those jobs are not coming back. I mean, this is, what do they say? A shot in the bucket or something like that. Drop in the bucket. It's like I said. This is what this modernization of the global economy really means. It's about there's going to be a crap load of people and not enough jobs. That's the way it is. Another propaganda piece, jobs report, other economic measures stronger than expected. So I'm not going to read this, but, they say, hooray to the Federal Reserve System. So, U.S., unemployment 7.3%, but more immigrants, please. So what's the reason? It's actually around 20% when you equate the people that are no longer collecting unemployment, like I've said, and people that are just no longer looking for work. So it says here that some of these businesses are actually for it, like GE, Walt Disney, the Hyatt, Coca-Cola. It says the corporate officers say new immigration law would be a long overdue step towards our nation's immigration policies, with its workforce needs at all skill levels to ensure U.S. global competitiveness. So what does that mean? It means driving down wages by bringing in other people, and that's what this bill was all about, the immigration bill recently. This high-skilled immigration bill that the House approved back in, almost July of 2013. It says here that it provides American employers with access to the world's best talent by allocating green cards to foreign graduates of U.S. universities with advanced degrees in science, technology, engineering, math, and stuff like that. They continue that immigration reform should address the reality that there is a global war for talent, and the way for the U.S. to win that war for talent, they say, is more immigration. So that's why you see stuff like this. I saw this from End of the American Dream, or Economic Collapse blog. It's a good website. But the way they see it, they posted this: we are heading for the greatest doctor shortage in American history. And I think they like to say that because of Obamacare scaring doctors away. But a lot of this, they don't know they're perpetuating the deflation of wages for these doctors and stuff because they're going to import them, right? The physicians to solve the doctor shortage are already here. It says thousands of foreign trained immigrant physicians are living in the U.S. with life-saving skills that are going unused. So, and it says, but see, this is just, again, this, I think it's just another type of propaganda piece, but it says there's thousands of foreign trained immigrants live in the U.S. with life-saving skills that are going unused because they stumbled over one of the many hurdles in the path towards becoming a licensed doctor here. But what about all the ones that are domestically trained? You know, they took on a huge amount of debt to go to school and stuff like that. So another thing, too, is you hear this, is there a U.S. shortage of scientists and engineers? It depends on where you live. So they put this out a lot about this. The STEM crisis is a myth. Forget the dire predictions of a looming shortfall of scientists, technologists, and engineers and mathematicians. And someone was telling me that he had spoke with someone or heard someone talking about this that was in this field, and he said that this whole thing really is just a big lie. And it's used to get immigrants to come over here, and that's to compete with them over, you know, wages, or I guess salaries for them. So they want the highly talented, skilled people, but they don't want to pay them. You know, just like the chickens going to China. Now China has been cleared by the FDA to process the chickens, and it's just like this just goes to show you how much they don't give a shit about American workers at all, American people. If they're willing to cut that out, they're willing to grow the chickens here or raise them here in the U.S., send them to China for processing, and then bring them back to the U.S. and stamp it made in USA or product of USA. Arrested Economic Development says 36% of millennials are living at home, delaying financial adulthood, and less than one-third of millennials are employed. They're living at home in record numbers, this generation. They always tell you, gotta get a college education, gotta go to college, right? College is the new high school degree. College costs are astronomical, and many are going into massive debt to pursue a college education. If not, then it's very likely that you'll end up in one of the many top low-paying jobs, since we decimated our manufacturing sector. Here's a little graph of millennials living at home. You have the age, 18 to 24. It says 56% of adults living ages 18 to 31 are living at home with their parents. The gender is mostly men, 40 to 32. Educational attainment, mostly some college and high school grad or less. Labor force status, 29% of them are employed, 45% unemployed, and 50% not in labor force. But hey, the Twitter news consumers say young, mobile, and educated. Nearly 1 in 10 U.S. adults, 8% get news through Twitter, according to a new report by Pew. Says as compared with 30% of Americans who get news on Facebook, Twitter news consumers stand out as younger, more mobile, and more educated. As far as Twitter goes, I mean, it's like Facebook. It tracks people. People make Facebook or Twitter, remarks, and they lose their jobs. This is a core function of Twitter, is passing along pieces of useless information. I threw in useless information as the story develops, because most of it's just garbage, right? I do it the old-fashioned way. I go and look for the news. I know many people don't have the time for that. That's why these videos are probably good for them. But it says here, young, unemployed, underemployed, and in debt, millennials face lackluster job market. Rather than starting careers after college, many young people are forced into part-time jobs. So there you go. They're educated, but they're unemployed and in debt. So said he moved back and to live with his parents, continue his job search to fill time. He worked part-time at Best Buy and then temped at Wells Fargo. Received no benefits and all that stuff. Rich families are hoarding cash, to CNBC. New survey of family offices by city finds that wealthy are cash heavy, meaning that they may fall short of the investments return they're expecting, about 39% of their assets in cash. In a recent poll, more than 50 large family office representatives from 20 countries conducted by Citi Private Bank. Then to Bitcoin, it spikes to a record high at $270. This is from November 6th. It said last month the price for Bitcoins doubled from $130 to $270. There's a combination of wider acceptance in China, and even eBay, PayPal were watching. Concerns over the ongoing global money printing delayed taper have sent to the cryptocurrency to a new record high. It says with all the markets now manipulated or repressed by government mandate, one wonders whether Bitcoin represents the last bastion of free market expression for concern at the fiat status quo. or is it already broken? More Bitcoin holders have lost their Bitcoins from the 8th until last week. They said here it's this inputs.io seemed like a nifty service for Bitcoin users. They not only offered wallets, it mixed the wallets up in order to anonymize the coins they stored. It says sped up Bitcoin payments and even spared them from the tiny transaction fees that are typically charged. But there was a catch. You had to trust the company and its internet connected computers with your Bitcoins. So basically they said it was a bad idea, and now these customers are learning just how bad an idea it was. 23rd and 26th, hackers made off with $4,000 of Bitcoins, stolen 2 separate attacks. World's first Bitcoin ATM processes 100,000 in transactions in its first 8 days from the 7th. And the world's first 3D printed metal gun, introducing metal 3D printing to the world as a viable solution for fully functional firearm prototypes. Then you have a dad calls the cops on his son to teach him a lesson. The cops shoot son dead. So you'll keep hearing more and more of these crazy, ridiculous stories. He called the police on his son Tyler after the latter took the former's truck in retaliation for refusing to buy him cigarettes. I guess it's better than shooting your parent over having your cell phone taken away. The cops spotted the lawn care company vehicle, pursued it into the Iowa State University campus, where a brief standoff ensued after Tyler allegedly refused orders to turn off the engine. The cops eventually fired 6 shots into the truck, 2 of which struck Tyler, who had later been pronounced dead. So they claimed that the action was necessary in order to stop the ongoing threat to the public and the officers. So CIA pays AT&T $10 million per year for access to call data. That's what they're paying. It says here to assist with overseas counterterrorism investigations. I'm sure that's what's going on here, by exploiting the company's vast database of phone records, which includes Americans' international telephone calls. Motorola wants you to tattoo a smartphone microphone into your throat. They've applied for a patent for a microphone with a transceiver and a power supply that's designed to be tattooed onto your throat. The idea is to capture vibrations directly from your larynx in order to cut out background noise while eliminating something else you could lose. Gonna move fast here as we finish up. A monkey controls 2 virtual arms with thoughts alone. And this is how they sell it. This is selling it to the people here. The same technology might soon be given to people who are paralyzed, control of an exoskeleton that they can move with their mind. So is that really what it's about? Not really. It's about stuff like Avatar, right? Future army telepresence, battle droids, and smart guns will change warfare forever, like a remote body. Just recently, you had at Fort Benning, Georgia, the demonstration of several armed robots. These ones were notable for accuracy of fire and their apparent readiness for combat. I mean, technically, that's what drone pilots are doing, right? Kind of like a form of an avatar. Pentagon being pushed into automated technologies for its new high-tech army. So they're always going to try to say that they're going to have power over it until they don't. So at first, when I saw at InfoWars that their take on this new RoboCop movie envisions world patrolled by drones, Americans need to be brainwashed out of their robophobia, you kind of just agree, okay, another propaganda piece. But then I actually watched the trailer, and the trailer's basically saying this guy was used by this company to push robots, saying that the people were scared. They didn't want robots in the U.S., and they were the last country, and they had to trick people, and they had to get a human and merge it with a robot, and that's how they did it. But the RoboCop becomes aware of it and then starts to remember and fights it. I've been covering a lot of stuff about biometrics, about the FBI doing it at Tesco gas stations in the UK, DHS testing facial recognition biometrics, but San Diego gets in your face with new mobile identification system. Facial recognition that will sharply change how police conduct stops on Americans. Offers officers the use of a mobile, basically cell phones collect face images out in the field. They have a database already of 1.4 million images. So we've seen the propaganda selling this technology, the IntelliStreets, but now they're actually doing it in Las Vegas. They installed the IntelliStreets light fixtures capable of video recording and I think sound too. They say at some schools Big Brother is watching. It's probably all schools. Parents wondering how they're going to keep their kids safe on social media. Schools are saying that they should do more to monitor students' online interactions off campus to protect them from dangers such as bullying, drug violence, and suicide. Remember that? The laptop that went home with that one kid and he got arrested for having Mike and Ike's? That's kind of creepy, isn't it? The Google barge, they're saying that it's not a floating data center, it's not a wild party boat. It's where people can learn about new technology.